Susan all set? All right, I'd like to call public hearing local law number 2 to order. Will clerk please call the roll?
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Councilor McBrady. Here. Councilor Burge. Here. Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Walker. Here. Councilor Gosick.
Here.
Councilor Plunkett. Here. Councilor Cordino.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I do not have anybody signed up to speak for local law number 2, but I did receive written submission from Sally Santangelo with Cny Fair Housing. So I'll read her letter into the record. It says, Dear Council Members, on behalf of Cny Fair Housing, Inc., we write to you in strong opposition to the proposed local law number 2 of year 2020, amending Chapter 170, Nuisance Abatement, local law number 2. Cny Fair Housing works to eliminate housing discrimination, promote open communities, and ensure equal access to housing opportunity for all people in central and northern New York. In addition to investigating complaints and representing victims of discrimination in administrative and judicial proceedings, Cny Fair Housing also provides fair housing education, training, and technical assistance to home seekers, housing providers, and local governments. We serve the counties of Broome, Cayuga, Jefferson, Madison, Oneida, Onondaga, Oswego, St. Lawrence, and Tompkins. In the course of our work in the city of Oswego, we have regularly served both victims of domestic violence and people with disabilities, both protected against discrimination by both federal and state law. This is why proposed local law 2 is deeply concerning. The potential impact on these protected classes is vast and well documented. Laws such as the one proposed here disproportionately impact victims of domestic violence. These individuals are more likely than other populations to need to call the police and to experience crime in their homes, and under laws such as one proposed here, face an increased risk of having their properties deemed a nuisance. After calling the police, their landlord could be cited under this law and forced to abate the nuisance or face steep penalties. As often landlords need to rent their properties for income, they cannot risk being unable to do so, and will thus move to evict victims of domestic violence for calling the police. These evictions compound the elevated risk of homelessness already faced by survivors of domestic violence, and the threat of nuisance ordinance enforcement often prompts domestic violence survivors to endure abuse rather than call the police. Victims will suffer in silence rather than risk eviction, potentially leading to dramatic consequences. Similar laws in New York State have already been struck down due to these concerns. In the 2017 case of Board of Trustees of the Village of Groton v. Piro, the 3rd Division Appellate Court struck down the Village of Groton's nuisance law as unconstitutional on its face under the First Amendment because it deterred tenants from seeking police assistance. The Village of Groton law was similar to the proposed law here. It enumerated a broad list of criminal and non-criminal activity, and also provided that a property could be shown to a public nuisance if there were repeated complaints of criminal activity, which parallels local law 2, as it does not require criminal conviction and asserts that the common frame and reputation of a building shall be competent evidence to prove the existence of a property or building nuisance. The court declared the entirety of the Groton law unconstitutional. Lastly, it is possible that this law also run afoul of New York State's right to call 911 law passed in 2019. Legislators specifically cited concerns about evictions resulting from nuisance ordinances when drafting and passing the local law. As such, the law explicitly states that, quote, any person who is a victim of domestic violence or who otherwise believes they are in need of police or emergency assistance has right to request such assistance and to be free of any direct or indirect penalty of reprisal for accessing assistance, or because they reside at a property where domestic violence or other law enforcement or emergency response occurred. We urge the Common Council to consider both the ethical and legal implications of passing Local Law 2 as currently written, and ultimately not allow an ordinance that will have a negative impact on already vulnerable populations to be made into law. That's all I have on Local Law number 2. Anybody in the audience want to speak on Local Law number 2? That's the nuisance abatement changes. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn the public.
Mayor, may I ask a couple of questions, please?
Sure, do you want to save that when we get to the item on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Great. I'll take a motion.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
In discussion last week, we had discussed adding 2 community members to the committee, especially for purposes of redress if they come to at the request of the committee a hearing for the purposes of the hearing from the committee, but I don't see that listed in the order. It still says that it will be the chief of police, code enforcement, and did we decide not to have it 2 community members, or was that just an oversight?
No, it should be in the draft.
Excuse me?
Yes, it should be in the draft. In fact, I'm certain that there is a draft that's been prepared. It just didn't make it into this particular resolution. But yes, that provision has been made.
Any other motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion. Councilor Walker, Councilor Gozick. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
The public hearing is adjourned. Next, we will start the public hearing for Local Law number 3. That's a local law amending Chapter 280, zoning section 280-47, signs of the code of the city of Oswego. This was to prohibit the for rent signs in residential neighborhoods. Will clerk please call the roll?
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Councilor McBrady.
Here.
Councilor Burge.
Here.
Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Gosick.
Here.
Councilor Plunkett.
Here.
Councilor Cordino.
Here.
All present.
Local law number 3. Nobody is signed up to speak. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on local law number 3? Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn. Councilor Hill, Councilor Cordino. Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
That public hearing is adjourned. Public session starts by my watch, 1 minute. All right, I'd like to open up public session. I ask that if you'd like to speak, step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and keep your comments to try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. One person has signed up to speak. That's Phil MacArthur.
Thank you, Mayor Barlow, councilors. It occurred to me a while back that maybe none of you, or maybe only a couple of you, remember why we had tree stewards, the Oswego tree stewards. So I wanted to spend about 3.5 minutes bringing you up to date. About 20 years ago, on my morning walks, I noticed that there were many struggling and dead and dying, newly planted trees along the city streets. So my wife and I did a survey of the West 3rd and West 4th, from Lake Street all the way south as far as we could walk. It was several blocks south of Erie. And we found, by using the records we'd obtained from the city of the newly planted trees, we found that about 75% of the newly planted city trees were failing to make their 10th birthday. So we were planting a lot of trees and not getting much for results. After some meetings with Mayor Bateman, the Oswego tree stewards were established. He also helped us establish the Tree Advisory Board and a tree ordinance at the time. Our agreement was to use no ladders and no power tools. We'd leave the big jobs to the DPW, and we would take care of the small jobs, the DPW neither has the funding nor the manpower to do. This involves cutting away dead branches and crossing branches with disease and fungus, trimming away suckers, and trying to give the newly planted trees their best possible chance. We consist of about a dozen highly trained and highly motivated individuals. I think almost all of us are retired. We've been to the Urban Forestry Council sessions on small tree care and spent a lot of our own time and money getting that education. We were the ones that found out that the American National Standards Institute had made changes to the way trees should be planted, the planting depth, the treatment with mulch and so on, and we brought this to the city, and the city very cordially adopted those new methods. And we believe we've reduced tree mortality substantially. If you drive Erie or Albany or Seneca, Oneida, Cayuga, almost any place on those streets, you'll see our work over the last 15 years. We're out there every Saturday from 10 to 12, from April to October. This constitutes, we just passed our 4,000th hour of volunteer service that you would pay a professional arborist approximately $250,000 to have, and you get it every Saturday. Mike Smith, the DPW director at the time, had to handle some irate calls from people who thought that they owned the trees in front of their house, actually were happy to have people take ownership of the trees in front of their house, even though they're city trees, because those people usually take good care of those trees, and those trees do survive past their 10th birthday. We have also reduced the city's liability exposure by God knows what, because we're constantly cutting down widowmakers with our pole saws. So I bring this to you in hopes that you will affirm the legitimacy and the good work that the Oswego tree stewards do. Maybe you'll come out and join us on a Saturday morning from 10 to 12. We're currently working East 9th Street. We started up at the north end, and we'll wind up as far south as we can get before the snow flies. You could also reaffirm that commitment to the Oswego tree stewards. As we do about every third or fourth year, we ask you for $200 or $300 worth of tools to continue our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council during public session? Seeing none, I will close public session, and the regular meeting starts at 7:30. Call the meeting to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Councilor McBrady.
Here.
Councilor Burge.
Here.
Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Gosick.
Here.
Councilor Plunkett.
Here.
Councilor Cordino.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Under the mayor's report, I'd just like to let everyone know, obviously, we're back to in-person meetings. The rules are pretty simple. Try to sit every third seat or so with 6 feet in between. We're going to cap capacity at 50 people, which usually isn't an issue, but in case something controversial or fun comes up, that could be. So just know that that rule is out there ahead of time, and if we expect a crowd, then we will have an officer here to enforce that capacity rule. So if you show up one of the meetings where there's something that the public's very interested in, and a lot of participants know that if you're the 51st person, we'll ask you to submit your comments if you wish to speak in writing, or just ask you to try to communicate in other ways as time goes on. But 50 people will be the max here, and that includes us. And every other city meeting, planning board, zoning board, traffic committee, will return to in-person meetings at their usual location, usual day, usual time, and usual format, but masks will be required. We'll have hand sanitization stations set up on every floor, as they are every day already, so just be aware of those protocols. And we'd still encourage the public to watch on TV or on YouTube like you were, and if you absolutely have to come in person, you're welcome, but we would encourage you to use those other methods for now still, even though we are back. So other than that, any comments from the council? Seeing none, will clerk please call Resolution 176.
Approve minutes, Common Council meeting held June 22nd, 2020.
Councilor Gozick, Councilor Corradino, any comments? Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 177.
Approve use of public space, Pamela Caracoli, owner of a single-family dwelling located at 76 West Seneca Street, in order to install a landscaped flower bed at the intersection of West Seneca and 6th Streets.
Councilor McBridy's hand up by chance?
Yep.
Councilor McBridy, Councilor Hill, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 178?
Approve use of public space, Paul Murray, owner of a single-family dwelling located at 60 West 6th Streets, in order to install a landscaped flower bed at the intersection of West Seneca and 6th Streets.
Councilor McBridy, Councilor Gozick, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Resolution 179.
Approve use of public space, Conrad Dolbear, owner of a single-family dwelling located at 182 East Seneca Street, in order to install a fence between the curb and property line.
Councilor Burridge, Councilor Walker, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 180.
Approve use of public space, Avery and Mitchell, owner-tenant of a mixed-use building located at 189 West 1st Street, in order to install cafe seating fronting West 1st Street.
Councilor Hill, Councilor Gozick, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 188.
Approve use of public space, MB Oswego Properties LLC, owner of commercial property located at 248 West 2nd Street, in order to install front stairs into public space between the sidewalk and property line.
Councilor Gozick, Councilor Corradino, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 182.
Approve use of public space, Amy Lear, owner of commercial property located at 192 through 194 West 1st Street, in order to place tables and chairs between the curb and property line.
Councilor Hill, Councilor Gozick, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 183.
Approve use of city properties to the Oswego Renaissance Association in order to place signage for their annual block challenge grant.
Councilor Hill, Councilor Burridge, any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McBrady.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 184.
Motion to rescind resolution number 130 dated May 11th, 2020.
Councilor Corradino, Councilor Hill, any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 185.
Approve use of public space, H. Lee White Maritime Museum, in order to host the annual Oswego Paddle Fest to be held Saturday, August 22nd, 2020.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Plunkett. Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 186.
Accept donation of 2 park benches from the Oswego Renaissance Association to be placed at Kingsford Park School.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Counselor Gozick.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the people involved with this in the neighborhood. I met with them tonight, and they gave me some information on a long-term plan, how they'd like to see the park be developed further. And thus far, they've already, with the help of the DPW and the mayor, picnic tables have been added, garbage can, dog station. With this addition, along with the park that we got just a couple years ago, brand-new park, and I know the Kingsford Home and School Association is working on the next phase, getting swings in. So I think we're going to see a really nice transformation in Kingsford Park with this, these benches that being donated, and on the corner railings that are going to be put in. So I just wanted to thank those people for all the hard work they've done and their work with the Oswego Renaissance Association. They've added trees in as well. Everybody knows Kingsford Park has basically been an open lot forever, and it's nice to see it being developed just like the other parks in the city. So I tip my hat to them and everybody involved, the ORA and DPW, so I appreciate that. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 187.
Accept donation of a memorial bench from Dave White in memory of Don and Nancy Sweeney.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 188?
Accept donation of a memorial bench from Tiffany Clunan in memory of her parents, Joanne and Hugh Clunan.
Counselor Hill, Counselor Cordino. Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 189?
Approve extinguishment of a paper street known as Road Street.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Hill. Any comments? Will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 190?
Express support to Dr. Walter Bozick using Bartlett Tree Service to develop, implement, and treat identified ash trees in the city.
Counselor McBrady, Counselor Hill. Any comments? Will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosek?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 191?
Approve local law number 2 of the year 2020, a local law amending Chapter 170, nuisance abatement of the Code of the City of Oswego, New York.
Counselor Hill, Counselor Gozick. This is the chapter, the nuisance abatement chapter that we're implementing in the city code, striking out the point system that's been used before and quite ineffective in my opinion. The summary of this law creates really a chapter of the code that allows code enforcement in the Oswego Police Department in the city to address homes that still, after about 4.5 years of our code enforcement program, that fall in the gray area, we'll call it, where there's a lot of activity, a lot of disruption, usually requiring a police response on a regular basis. but it doesn't always fall under code enforcement issues. The house may be in semi-decent shape, but it's a constant disruption. Or there's some properties where there's a combination of the two that still cause the property to be a disruption to neighbors. So, you know, maybe there's regular police presence, if not frequent, certainly regular, and the house isn't in the best shape. That still is a disruption. It still absorbs value away from the owner-occupied homes down the street and has a negative impact on the quality of life of homeowners, often owner-occupied properties in neighborhoods. So this is another tool. I think this will be maybe one of the final tools that our code enforcement program needs. It really links up our code enforcement department with the Oswego Police Department to track these properties that are constantly causing disruption and being a nuisance in the communities. To some of the points raised earlier from a frequent critic of just about every code, new code legislation or new code enforcement effort we take on. The tenants and the property owner are entitled to a hearing, and that's why we're establishing this code nuisance abatement committee. So what will happen is if police are constantly going to this property, we'll create a file that will be brought up to consideration before the committee. In addition, code enforcement complaints are obviously publicized and logged, and that will become part of that file that will go up for consideration before the committee before action is taken. The criteria states that it'll take, a real case, code violations or police response to properties being brought to the committee. So it's not just like the police are called 2 times in 1 week and all of a sudden the city's closing down a property. It'll be documented over months, and it'll take months to build a case that's actually worth action by the committee. We also put in that 2 criminal convictions within a 12-month period will allow for the committee to take action. So once the criteria is met, and we actually list the type of crimes in the legislation that you can read, but once that criteria is met, even then, they go before the committee for what we'll call a fair hearing. That committee, the legislation calls for the committee to be made up of the code enforcement director, the police chief, and the city attorney. The Common Council at the committee level amended the legislation to include 2 citizens on the committee, which I think is fair as long as they don't hold a rental permit in the city. And then that 5-person committee will review the case, consider the situation, and then make a determination from there on the appropriate action. The appropriate action can be anywhere from withdrawing and pulling the rental permit to mandating a closure for up to a year for any property, or implementing a monetary fine that they see fit. So there's really a whole array of tools and penalties at their disposal that I think can be effective. My last point, because I'm not sure if council has anything to add, if Kevin Hill, Councilor Hill, actually already was contacted by one of his constituents who would like to serve on the committee, so I'm happy to appoint that person to the committee. Her name is Cheryl Lautensack, 3rd Ward resident and a homeowner without a rental permit in her name. So if there's a member of the public who would like to serve, please contact your city councilor, and they can forward their name to me or contact my office directly if you'd like. I don't have anybody in mind for that 5th position right now. So really the first qualified candidate, we'll say, or recommended candidate from a council will likely get that position, as long as you can, again, don't have a rental permit in the city and bring an objective, fair outlook to the committee, then you're certainly eligible. Any councilors have anything to add, or city attorney want to address any of the notes?
I'm happy to. I do have a few comments, but I'd like to hear Councilor McBriarty's comments, as they may inform my responses.
Councilor McBriarty, any comments that we didn't address at the public hearing?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Good to go. Any comments?
The only, there is a a change. The provision for the 2 members, as Councilor McBurney pointed out, is not in the version of the law that is in your booklets tonight. But it does exist, and that is on page 5, section 170-5, subsection A, after the Chief of Police, City Attorney, and Director of Code Enforcement, the words, "and 2 members of the community who do not possess a rental permit." That should be added. That will be submitted, circulated once we locate that, but it was previously modified as a result of the committee determination, when it was taken up during the committee, that those changes were made. It just, this is an inadvertently an omitted copy that made it onto into your booklets here. And the only other thing I want to stress, and I think it bears putting on the record, is the legislative findings and the purpose of this law. It's to address flagrant violations of state and local laws pertaining to possession, sale, and use of controlled substances and dangerous drugs, illegal use of possession of weapons, possession of stolen property, and laws relating to the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages. By adopting this law, the Common Council is also determining as a purpose that this law would create and empower the Nuisance Abatement Committee to impose appropriate sanctions and proportionate penalties as may serve to eliminate the public nuisance, and that those sanctions and penalties that can be imposed are reasonable and necessary in order to promote health, safety of the people of the city of Oswego and to promote the general welfare. So I'm certainly sympathetic to the statements that were expressed by Cny Fair Housing. I think this administration over the last 5 years has done more to promote fair housing in this community and to enforce the fair housing laws than has been done in many, many administrations. And certainly the intent of this law is not to penalize a victim of domestic violence for calling the police. This is not intended to be some type of a chilling effect on someone's ability to exercise their First Amendment right. This is about enforcement of, as the mayor said, properties that have for far too long in this community been a drag on the community and on our neighborhoods. And with all the positive things that we're doing, this is just one additional tool to help revitalize our neighborhoods.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Councilor Hill.
I think this is really the missing piece of our code enforcement strategy, and to kind of really sum up exactly what this legislation is for. There's a property in the city that in the period of 2019 had 37 individual police responses to one single address. And those include harassment, sex abuse, aggravated harassment, disturbances, larceny, missing person. Some of these aren't obviously relevant, but the fact is you have 37 responses to one property. You have other tenants in this home, people that live near this home, and why should they have to endure safety issues, health issues, and just a reduced quality of life because of a single property? And that's really what we're trying to address here. In my ward right now, we have a property we're really building a case that would fall under this legislation. Weapons charges, drug charges, constant police presence, and it's just, we shouldn't have to deal with that, and neighbors shouldn't have to deal with that. And with new bail reform laws and the ability of individuals who are charged of crimes to be really released same day and then back out in the public again, the city's residents are they've had enough. They're frustrated. They don't know what to do. You call the police, they respond, and it just continues. So I think it's important that we take this step, we add it to our toolbox, and it's just what we need to take that last step to help improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Gozick.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in and piggyback on what Councilor Hill was saying. And again, I don't have all the data right in front of me here, but I don't need it because the mayor knows as well as I. We've had houses right on our block. I live 2 houses down from the mayor and his family. And we've had houses that we've experienced this where no names mentioned, but again, countless police appearances, all hours of the day, every sort of thing, raids on the house, and they come out with needles, stolen computers from the school district. These people are back in the house that afternoon. The police come, arrest them, and again, code enforcement. I mean, the list just goes on and on. We've experienced this, I mean, literally across the street, watching cars pull up in the middle of the night, obviously some sort of like illegal activities, women with children, small children coming out hours of the night, and again, watch until finally, I mean, take a year and a half, and not exaggerating, I've seen others, and all have different circumstances, but I think this is going to be a valuable mechanism for helping to, ensure the quality of life in our neighborhoods. And I think the bottom line is, it has to do with, like, some people just don't have any sense of propriety. They don't know how to live in society with other people, and maybe it's not the landlord's fault, maybe it's not theirs, but I think this is necessary, and we've all seen it, and all it takes is one house, one group of inconsiderate people, and the drain on city resources is outrageous. When you add up the manpower and the amount of money it's costing this municipality when you just have a few of these, all it takes are 1 or 2 in each ward. So I fully support this, and again, I'm also sympathetic to the criticisms, and again, I think that this law needs to be used with discretion, but I think that it serves a valuable purpose in helping to ensure the safety and the quality of life of our residents and citizens of Oswego. So I support it 100% as well.
Thank you. Any other comments? See.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Councilor.
I understand the desire and the need to increase the tools at our disposal to deal with some of the really egregious properties that we have in the city. I know I have a couple in the first ward where neighbors have to endure needles in the lawn and fights and police calls at all hours, code violations that were after code violation, and I agree that we need this tool in our toolbox. I do want to say that I do expect and I do feel that I'm pretty confident that the police department will be able to pay attention to recurring issues involving some of our neediest and most vulnerable, and making sure that the community is empowered to speak up when they think that we are abusing or violating their housing requirements and expectations. So I am in support of this with some reservation, but I think our council and the city government has a reasonable reputation for paying attention and addressing issues as they arise. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Cordino.
Yes.
Councilor McCready.
Yes.
Councilor Burridge.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gossick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call 190?
Approve local law number 3 of the year 2020, a local law amending Chapter 80 zoning, Section 280-47, signs of the city, Code of the City of Oswego, New York.
Councilor Hill, Councilor Walker. This chapter prohibits for rent signs from being used as a source of advertising in our residential neighborhoods, specifically TN1, TN2s, and the waterfront and maritime districts. The council made an amendment. What were all those amendments again? It was the Code Enforcement Department will supply the property owner will be subject to a rental permit check to ensure that the property where the for rent sign will be displayed is actually a rental property and has a valid rental permit. And in order to and they amended and then unamended, taking away X checks in water and sewer bills. Did I get it?
Yes.
Any other comments? Seeing none, will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
I will be recusing myself because I currently am a landlord.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
No.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-1, one recusal.
Will clerk please call Resolution 193?
Approve solid waste license to Altman Enterprises for the year 2020.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Plunkett. Any comments? Will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 194?
Confirm 2020 assessment roll for the city of Oswego.
Counselor Cordino, Counselor Gozick. Any comments? Clerk please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk please call Resolution 195?
Approve city property sale process.
Counselor Walker, Counselor Hill. This is a process that I explained pretty thoroughly at the committee level, but I'll briefly scan it once again. It's a process that we tried at the end of 2019 into 2020, and we found that it was quite successful and produced results that so far we seem to encourage and like. Before, the property sale process would usually be some sort of convoluted process that if you happen to know the counselor of the ward, you would go to them and they would direct you to the properties for sale in their ward, and then you would somehow manage to get one at some price. So we're abandoning that system, which we haven't done at least in my 4.5 years as mayor, and implementing an actual standard process that will get these homes into the hands of people who will take care of them and either turn them into owner-occupied homes, or if they are landlords, are reputable landlords who are known for taking care of their property. The also point is it won't allow the city to hang on to these properties for an extended period of time. Often when a home is taken from back taxes and held in the foreclosure process or by a government, regardless of whatever level it falls into disrepair over time. And even beyond that, the city DPW often has to mow the lawns in the spring and shovel or snow blow the driveway and sidewalks in the winter, which obviously takes resources away from their regular duties. So we put in this system to try to get rid of these properties as they come up on a regular basis, and we believe this process will support our neighborhood revitalization efforts by getting the property in the hands of responsible people, and lastly gives a very fair, transparent, open and consistent process so people know what to expect if they do want to try to buy property from the city. Real quick, the process starts when the city is notified of the homes that they now own, which typically happens in October. We did all of these steps last time and we'll replicate them moving forward. Once we are notified of the property, the city attorney sends a letter to the former property owner and or tenant, notifies them that they have 30 days to reach out to the city attorney to discuss the situation and pay in full. If they pay in full, then the property's theirs and they can remain in the property. If they don't reach out and pay in full within 30 days, the city then begins to publicize their property, which is now the city property, and list it as for sale. The open process is a 45-day process where the Administrative Services Committee will go into executive session. They will put a minimum bid, a minimum price associated with each property, and then they will explain or detail any criteria around that property that they wish to see. So we don't always award to the highest bidder, but we award to who presents the best plan. If they're going to move in the home themselves, that helps. If they're going to flip the home to somebody to buy the house to live in, that certainly helps. Or if they have a great track record being a responsible landlord, that helps. So the council has the power, the ability to put that criteria in the description. At that point, it's an open process. The city clerk's office will accept sealed bids for 45 days. Once those 45 days are up, the submission process is closed, and the Common Council will then go back into an executive session, review all the submissions for every property, and award the best proposal that they see. Again, not always going to be the highest bid. I don't remember offhand, but I know that we awarded property to applicants that didn't submit the highest bid, but the best plan this last time, and that's why we're seeing quick results. I know Councilor Hill has one in his ward that already has been turned around and looks great and is a big improvement from before. So that's the goal, and the public should know that that's our approach, at least this council's approach, moving forward. Once the council in executive session determines the bid that they select, they will come out here publicly, just as we did last time, and we will announce, if you will, the property and who it is being sold to, and that obviously is subject to a full Common Council vote. That is a summary of the process, unless I miss a step. I don't think I did. Any comments from the council? See none. Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor McBrady?
Yes.
Councilor Burge?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Gossett?
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 196.
Approve sale of property located on East Seneca Street to Hawthorne Holdings, LLC, for the purpose of constructing an animal hospital.
Councilor Burge, Councilor Hill. Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor McBrady?
Yes.
Councilor Burge?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Gossett?
Yes.
Councilor Burge?
Yes.
Oh, Plunkett, sorry.
Yes.
Maybe your old guy on that. Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 197?
Authorize mayor to sign change order number 2 with Patricia Electric Incorporated for project modifications to the East Side wastewater treatment plant, electrical, and SCADA upgrades.
Councilor Corradino? Councilor Gozick? Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor McBrady?
Yes.
Councilor Burge?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Gossett?
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 198?
Waive rules of the Common Council to present resolutions numbers 199 through 203 from the floor without committee consideration.
Councilor Hill? Councilor Plunkett? Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cordino?
Yes.
Councilor McBrady?
Yes.
Councilor Burge?
Yes.
Councilor Hill?
Yes.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Gossett?
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call Resolution 199?
Authorize City Chamberlain to advance funds for deposits up to $5,000.
Councilor Corradino, Councilor Hill. This resolution is to allow the City Chamberlain to advance funds for deposits up to $5,000. This is particularly for our READY projects and the grant projects that are underway, where some of these smaller purchases require deposits up front, particularly when we shop local. Smaller companies need, if it's a medium to large size purchase, need that deposit up front. For instance, what prompted this particular resolution is an awning that will go on the new boater access center at Wrights Landing Marina. Local company asked for a 50% deposit up front for that awning, so we're making Deb Code, the city chamberlain, available to authorize that initial deposit, and then we'll have to come back for a full payment. And she'll be able to do this as the situation arises through these projects. Any comments? Councilor Hill?
Is this something we have to authorize on an annual basis, or will this exist past this year?
There you go. Permanent.
Okay.
Any other comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 200.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete a transfer of funds from the General Fund contingent account to the Parks Contracted Services account for the street hockey renovation at Shapiro Park.
Counselor Cordino. Counselor Gosick. This is a budget transfer in the amount of $12,850. This is for the blacktop of what will be the new street hockey rink at Shapiro Park. We did this as part of our not CHIPS, but part of our 2020 paving plan. It doesn't fall under CHIPS because it doesn't go to the streets, so we took this invoice out of our paving plan invoice to be paid separately. Did I say the amount? $12,850. Any comments? Will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call Resolution 201.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete a budget amendment from the General Fund contingency account to the CHIPS account for project modifications to the 2020 milling and paving plan.
Counselor Hill. Counselor Walker. This is a general fund contingent account to cover our CHIPS account. We went over budget on our road paving this year, which may sound like a bad thing, but I say the more paving, the better. The reason that our original estimate was off is because once the contractor, Rosselli, got into the job, there were three major changes once they opened up the road. Those changes include Sheldon Ave. That road, once they milled down, they realized that the binder and the surface under it was more deteriorated than the city initially thought, and they initially thought. Same goes for O'Brien Glenway. We did a large stretch up at O'Brien, which was in really bad shape, worse than we expected once they milled down the pavement. And then we added to the paving plan the East First and Utica intersection, which was horrendous, and the reason that's so expensive is because there's obviously 4 traffic loops in that intersection that they had to deal with when they redid that intersection. Go ahead. Budget amendment, right. So I'll take if you're all on board with that, I'll take a motion to amend. It's not the general fund contingency account, it's a amendment, budget amendment. Councilor Gosick, Councilor Cordino, will clerk please call the roll to amend?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes to amend.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes to amend.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes to amend.
Counselor Hill?
Yes to amend.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes to amend.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes to amend.
Resolution to amend passes 7-0.
Now will the clerk please call the roll? Any comments on the amended resolution? Okay, seeing none, will clerk please call the roll on the amended resolution?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Amended resolution passes 7-0.
Will clerk please call resolution 202?
Approve extension of 1% sales and compensating use tax.
Councilor Gosick, Councilor Hill, this is just a resolution that the state requires for us to accept our sales tax. Any comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Any unfinished business to come before the council? Well, 203. Will clerk please call Resolution 203?
Approve solid waste license to Ridovid for the year 2020.
Counselor Walker, Counselor Plunkett. Any questions, comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
I'll take a motion to adjourn. Counselor Burge, Counselor Walker. Will clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBrady?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Meeting is adjourned.